There is something fascinating about carrots that many people rarely stop to notice. The most important part of the plant grows hidden beneath the soil. When we look at a carrot bed from above, all we see are delicate green leaves swaying gently in the breeze. In the soft light of early morning, those feather-like leaves appear fragile, almost weightless, as if a stronger gust of wind could easily move them aside. Yet beneath that quiet surface of soil, an entirely different world is unfolding. Deep in the cool darkness underground, the roots are slowly stretching downward, drawing in tiny droplets of water, absorbing minerals from the soil, and quietly storing energy that will eventually form the crisp orange carrot we harvest later. What makes this process even more remarkable is that it all begins with a seed so small it can slip through your fingers without you even noticing. And yet, if that tiny seed finds the right conditions, the proper moisture, loose soil, gentle sunlight, and patient care, it will gradually transform into a complete carrot plant. When you understand each step of this process, growing carrots no longer feels like a simple gardening task. Instead, it becomes a beautiful experience where you witness patience, resilience, and the quiet power of nature working just beneath your feet. Preparing the soil is always the first step, and it is also the step that determines the shape and quality of the carrot roots later on. Imagine starting this work early in the morning, and just as the first rays of sunlight begin spreading softly across the garden, and the night dew still lingers on the surface of the soil. The air is calm and cool, filled with the gentle sounds of morning birds and the quiet rustling of grass in the breeze. Carrots are root vegetables that grow deep into the ground, so the soil must be loose, light, and well drained. If the soil is too hard or filled with stones and compact clumps, the carrot root will struggle as it grows downward. When the root encounters an obstacle, it cannot simply push through it. Instead, it bends, twists, or splits into smaller branches in search of space. As a result, the harvested carrots may appear crooked, forked, or oddly shaped rather than long and straight. To prevent this, gardeners usually loosen the soil to a depth of about 25 to 30 centimeters. When as a shovel or garden fork lifts and turns each layer, large clods of earth break apart into smaller, softer particles. The freshly turned soil often reveals a deeper brown color and holds the cool moisture hidden beneath the surface. When you scoop a handful of that soil into your palm, you can actually feel its softness and the quiet life contained within it. This process of loosening the soil creates countless tiny air pockets between soil particles, allowing water and oxygen to move freely underground. And as the earth opens, signs of life begin to appear. A small earthworm may slowly wriggle through the freshly turned soil, its body glistening faintly in the early sunlight. As it moves, it leaves behind narrow tunnels that run through the soil. These tunnels are incredibly important because they allow air and water to travel deeper into the ground while also providing natural pathways for plant roots to expand. In reality, beneath a healthy garden bed lies an entire living ecosystem that never stops working. Earthworms tirelessly dig tunnels and mix layers of soil with organic matter. Small beetles, insect larvae, and countless microscopic creatures move quietly through the darkness. At the same time, millions of tiny microorganisms are constantly breaking down old leaves, dead roots, and organic materials in the soil. Through their activity, the soil gradually becomes richer and more fertile over time. Once the soil has been loosened, the next step is adding nutrients that will support strong plant growth. Gardeners often mix compost or well-decomposed manure into the soil. When these materials not only provide essential nutrients, but also improve the soil structure, helping it retain moisture while still allowing excess water to drain away. When compost is blended into the earth, another fascinating biological process begins beneath the surface. Soil microorganisms quickly move toward this fresh organic matter and begin breaking it down into simpler nutrients. Over time, these nutrients dissolve into the soil water and become the food that carrot roots will absorb throughout their growth. After the soil has been enriched, the gardener forms raised planting beds. These beds are typically about 15 to 20 centimeters higher than the surrounding ground. Raising the soil slightly helps excess rainwater drain away more quickly, preventing water from pooling around the roots. Carrots do not tolerate overly wet soil for long periods because their roots need oxygen to survive. If the soil stays waterlogged, the roots may begin to rot. Once the beds are shaped and the surface soil is smoothed into a fine, soft layer, the garden begins to look like long ribbons of fertile earth stretching side by side. When a gentle breeze passes over them, the fine surface soil shifts slightly, creating the perfect environment for tiny seeds to begin their journey. Carrot seeds themselves are incredibly small. When placed in your palm, they resemble tiny specks of pale brown dust. Because of their size, sowing them requires patience and a gentle hand. Shallow grooves about 1 to 1.5 centimeters deep are made along the surface of the bed. The seeds are then lightly sprinkled into these grooves. Since they are so small, it is important to scatter them as evenly as possible to avoid overcrowding in one spot. After the seeds settle into the grooves, a thin layer of soil is brushed gently over them. This layer of soil acts like a soft blanket, protecting the seeds from direct sunlight while helping maintain the moisture they need to begin growing. Once the seeds are planted, the soil must be watered gently. Small droplets fall onto the surface and seep slowly through the tiny spaces between soil particles, gradually moving deeper underground. During the first 7 to 14 days, the soil must remain consistently moist but never waterlogged. This period is critical because the carrot seeds are beginning the delicate process of germination. If the soil dries out, the seeds may fail to sprout. But if the soil becomes too wet and lacks oxygen, the seeds can rot before they ever begin to grow. Beneath the soil, a remarkable transformation is taking place, one that the human eye cannot see. As the carrot seed absorbs moisture from its surroundings, its dry outer shell begins to soften. The seed slowly swells as the tissues inside take in water. At the same time, enzymes within the seed awaken and begin converting stored energy into fuel for growth. Moisture spreads through the tiny spaces between soil particles, forming a cool and stable environment around the seed. Earthworms continue to dig their tunnels, making the soil even looser. Microorganisms keep breaking down organic matter, releasing dissolved minerals into the surrounding moisture. Tiny droplets cling around the seed like a delicate film supporting new life. Then, once at some quiet moment, a microscopic crack forms in the seed coat. From that tiny opening, the first root, called the radicle, slowly emerges, pushing downward into the soil in search of water and nutrients. That moment marks the true beginning of a plant's life. Soon after the root anchors itself, the young shoot begins growing in the opposite direction, pushing upward toward the light. One morning when you walk out into the garden, you might notice small cracks appearing on the soil surface. From those cracks, pale green shoots begin to emerge. 2 tiny seed leaves unfold like miniature wings, reaching out to greet the morning sunlight. It is the first visible sign that the quiet garden bed is finally waking up. When the seedlings reach about 4 to 5 centimeters in height, thinning becomes necessary. If too many plants grow close together, they compete for water, nutrients, and sunlight. By removing the weaker seedlings, the remaining plants can be spaced about 5 to 8 centimeters apart. This spacing gives each carrot enough room for its root to grow deep and develop properly. Over the following weeks, the carrot plants grow stronger. Their true leaves begin to appear, thin, feathery, and deeply divided like delicate green threads. When a light wind passes through the garden, the entire carrot bed ripples gently like a soft green carpet. During this stage, consistent watering, removing weeds, and lightly loosening the top layer of soil help maintain a healthy environment for the plants. Around 4 to 6 weeks after planting, the main root beneath the soil begins to thicken. This is the stage when the carrot itself starts to form. Sugars and nutrients produced in the leaves through photosynthesis are transported downward and stored in the root. Gradually, the familiar orange color develops beneath the soil surface. After about 70 to 90 days from sowing, the carrots usually reach harvest size. On harvest day, the gardener simply grasps the leafy tops and gently pulls upward. Slowly, a bright orange carrot emerges from the soil, often carrying a few clinging grains of earth on its surface. That moment always brings a special sense of satisfaction because it represents weeks of care, patience, and quiet anticipation. From a tiny seed resting silently in the soil, the carrot plant has completed an extraordinary journey to become a fully formed root vegetable. This process is the result of a perfect balance between loose soil, water, sunlight, soil microorganisms, and the patient care of the gardener. Once you understand each step, growing carrots no longer feels difficult. Instead, it becomes an inspiring experience where you can observe the subtle transformations of nature unfolding in your own garden. And perhaps there is no better feeling than gently pulling a carrot from the soil that you planted yourself. Fresh, crisp, and sweet. A simple yet powerful reward for patience and dedication. And when those freshly harvested carrots finally make their way from the garden into the kitchen, their journey still continues. The thin layer of soil clinging to their skin is washed away under cool running water, revealing their vibrant orange color and firm texture. And when you slice into a carrot that has just been picked, you can hear the soft, satisfying crunch, a sound that only truly fresh vegetables can make. But more than just crisp, sweet carrots, what you hold in your hands is the result of weeks of care, patience, and attention. From a tiny seed hidden in the soil to a nourishing food on the table, the entire process becomes deeply meaningful. And perhaps the most beautiful moment arrives later, when those carrots become part of a warm meal shared with family. Sitting together around the table, enjoying dishes made from the harvest of your own garden. Every bite carries not only flavor, but also the quiet joy of knowing that something so simple, grown from the earth, has brought people together in comfort and gratitude.